It's live. Hey, everybody, and welcome to our first fall edition of Youth Leader Conversations. We're going to try to do these once or twice a month. So once the second and fourth week, I think that's what we're on, the second and fourth week of the month. If you can make plans to join us, we'll go 11 o'clock to 11:30. Keep it short. Nobody wants to listen to us for much longer than that. But we're going to start off and do some introductions since we haven't done this in a while. So we'll go down the row. On my row, I'll just tell you when you're up. So Brent, just tell us a little bit more about you, other than your first name, where you are, and a little bit like that.
Hi, I'm Brent. My name is Brent Aiken. I'm the youth pastor at First United Methodist Church in Fairfield. I have been here for 4 years in April, and I've been in youth ministry for almost 7 years. So lots of fun.
All right. Running all the way back down to Jordan.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Hey, I am Jordan Monroe. I'm at Cedar Bayou Grace in Baytown. I have been here for 11 months today. So, woo, hooray, how exciting. And it's my first 11 months in ministry. So, yay, double party, I guess.
Awesome. Over to Eric.
My name is Eric Pugh. I serve as the Associate Pastor for Youth and Young Adults at Strawbridge in Kingwood. I started my appointment in August, and I've been in full-time youth ministry for 11 years.
Awesome. Randall?
Hi, I'm Randall. I'm at First United Methodist here in Orange, Texas, and I've only been here since July, but I've been in full-time ministry since, I guess, just over 2 years now.
Okay. My name is Russell Martin. I'm the youth director at Williams Memorial. I've been here at the church for 11, but doing youth for about 4 years. And so glad to have everybody here. I just wanted to kind of start off just jumping into the topic, which was follow-up for youth. So can I just some ideas on how we what we do for new members that come in or new visitors. What's your process for maybe check-in, taking attendance, any of those type ideas? There's kind of some nuts and bolts. I've seen some questions about that on the page. People asking, what do you use for attendance? What do you give visitors and stuff like that? So let's start off with how many of y'all keep track, or who keep track? I'll try this again. I'll edit this. Brent, how do y'all do your attendance and keeping track of who shows up?
We use an app called MinHub, and I was actually going to be super technologically savvy real fast and try something. It might not work, so bear with me.
I can always edit it out. It'll be fine.
So
I still see you.
Let's see if this works. Screen share, desktop.
Ooh.
What? I don't know. Oh, where'd it go? So that failed epically.
We see everything on your phone.
Oh, hey, here we go. So, all right. Why are you so small? You can edit out clips, you said, correct.
I'll put elevator music in.
What is happening?
Whoa.
Okay.
That'll work.
I don't know what it. There we go. Okay, so I use an app called MinHub. Right now they have it for the youth. It works as a database. You can come in and keep track of all your students. You can make groups, events, everything to that nature. This is how we keep attendance. Simple as you have breakdowns of schools. You have breakdowns of staff to student ratios, what grades, gender breakdown, everything to that nature. You can come in and actually see the students and the adults that are with you each day. Really, really cool, super simple to use. Essentially it just starts out like this, and every time someone new signs in, they have to fill out their information and take a picture. And so all you do to check in is you go find someone and check them in. You just touch their face and it counts them as there. But super, super simple, very, very easy. Right now it runs off of Dropbox and it can be synced between phones, but they're working on better ways to sync it. But it's super cool and it costs like $15, I think. So,
Nice. Now, you're the only one with that app, so you take a picture of the person and then you put their information in and then check them in.
actually, I have it on 3 different leaders' phones and we sync it all together. And so I typically do the attendance, but this way it makes it intentional to where I see when new people are here. And so that helps me at least. But there we go. It helps me in the long run because I get to know when new kids are here. I get to make face-to-face interaction, and I get to also learn their name very quickly. So it also helps in the future as when the kid comes the next time and I'm like, oh, dang, what's his name? I can go back and look at the picture and be like, oh, hey, it's Josh or whatever his name is. So
Awesome.
That's a lot better than
super,
that. Hey, buddy.
yeah. Hey, student.
That's right. We use MinHub too, and one of the things I like about it, apart from that, is you can set those filters, and so you can say, you can set a filter for the students who have been here or have not been here in 2 weeks, and so each week you can pull it up and you can say, hey, these students have not been here for 2 weeks. I need to send them a card or do whatever. So MinHub allows that. Jordan, do y'all have anything y'all use for your ministry stuff?
Well, right now, most of it is just writing it down, having them sign in. But we're actually making the switch to MinHub here shortly once we get money in the budget for like an iPad for them to sign in and do stuff on. So.
All right, Eric, do y'all use anything, or what do y'all?
Yeah, actually, so our church, I have to say, I just use the church's database, and we have a secretary that prints out an attendance sheet, and I have a card, kind of a quarter sheet for guests when they first-time visitors. I have them give me their information, and then they just check themselves, and actually our student leaders check everyone in during the week. But it gives me a chance to move around. We have a fairly contained group. I get a chance to get to know them all, but new folks are pretty easy to find because they kind of stick out. So when you don't have a huge ministry, it's easy to kind of keep in track that way. But I'd love to move to an app. It's just our church wants to know that data too, and they're not that far advanced. So
yeah, this one other cool thing about this app is you can export attendance for a certain event. You can export all different kinds of stuff. But yeah, I've kind of had it grow with me. When I started the app, we were sitting about 10 to 15 students, and now we're anywhere from 30 to 45. So it works in facets of just about any size, which is cool. I know some youth pastors that have groups of hundreds and they still use the app, which is really neat.
The working with your church database and this, I understand that because we have that too, Eric. We used to use MinHub, but we found we have a lot of kids we have a lot of visiting kids, or kids don't go to church, come with friends, whatever. And I was inflating or bloating our church roster, and I was like, okay, that's not one of our normal kids. That's, so keeping those separate. So MinHub helps me do the youth thing, and I just try to work hard to make sure that we have that connection with the church database as well. Randall, do y'all have anything y'all use for keeping track of kids?
Right now, it's pretty lame. We're just getting it on a Word document. That when they walk in, they're filling out information on a paper, and then I'll insert that to Excel, and then I'll give it to a secretary who puts it into church windows for the church. So I don't know too much about that program, but that's what we're doing right now.
Well, sure. And what's using an app or writing? I did lists. I did Microsoft Excel for years. And I liked going through and doing I did the same thing. I had a little formula that if they hadn't been here for a while, and it told me and let me know and stuff like that. But I used Microsoft Excel forever. And MinHub is just a different way of doing that. The important thing though is I'm going to ask you, how important do you think it is to keep track? What are the benefits of keeping track of youth? Because I'm surprised when I see a lot of people don't do that. So, Eric, what are the advantages you find from trying to keep a good track of who's there and who's not?
So actually, we have a fantastic secretary, and so she gives me back. So I turn in all of the forms after the event, and then within 2 days, she gives them back to me. And so I get a visual track of everything on a piece of paper, and I keep a file of it because that's just the system that was in place. But then I can take those to our student leadership team meetings that happen about once a month. And then we look back through them, and I have our students write notes to the folks that we haven't seen. Like I kind of put it back on them. I used to do the Excel thing, but I just didn't feel like re-entering all that data. Like that's just a lot of extra work. So I realized I had students who wanted to help, and I was like, hey man, we're meeting like once a month. If a kid gets a card every 4 weeks, that's awesome. I was like, at one point, trying to be like every couple of weeks, send someone a card. And there's just a lot of people to send a card to when you have a transient population of students. So we've kind of lowered our expectations a little bit to like once a month, but we realized if we haven't seen them in 4 weeks, they definitely need a card. So,
all right, Brent, what's the benefit of keeping track of all your people? Like, why do you use MinHub and keep track of them?
Because you have to know your sheep, man. I think that's first and foremost the biggest thing, is if you don't know the kids coming, you don't know where your group is as a whole. You don't know what issues they're struggling with. If you don't know the age ranges or the grades, you don't know the demographics, then it's hard to present a ministry that is going to be the best option of reaching the students you have. So I think keeping track of who's here, keeping track of ages and everything to that nature is huge.
Hey, Taylor, what's up? You hear us, Taylor? Nope, he's still working on it. All right. He said he's working on his plugins to get that. So who does something, or y'all give me some ideas of what y'all do for first-time visitors? How do y'all have anything you give out or connect, or do you make them stand up in front of everybody and hit them with silly string? Or Jordan just got some ideas there. Don't do that.
Yeah, say that one's right there. Golden idea.
So we're going to go back over to this side on my screen. Randall, do y'all have anything, or actually maybe volunteers? Who has something that they do? Who wants to talk and tell us something they do for their volunteers? Or new members. Sorry, for new visitors.
We have gobs and gobs of these that have our student ministry on them. So that's typically what we give out. And if they keep coming, when we have leftover shirts from events and stuff like that, we'd give them shirts. We've also made a big push the past couple of probably the past year, I would say, that where we have spent a ton of money, but it's been worth it because all of the kids that come, we bought them a new Bible. And so we bought them all the Jesus-centered Bible, which is New Life Translation, or New Living Translation. So all the kids have the same Bible to go through. It's been pretty cool to see. The kids are pretty consistent on bringing them. And then we just do games and prizes on top of that to make sure they bring them. But from lanyards to Bibles to pins to shirts, we just do different novelty stuff like that.
Okay. Who else has something? What do you do for visitors that are coming?
We're a pretty small group, and so most of our kids know if there's a new kid there, and most of the new people who are coming are brought by friends. And so we have a time at the beginning, share who you brought, and a fun fact about them. Usually we let the guests share. Sometimes if they're shy, their friend who brought them talks a little about why they brought them and more information about that. And then we're sure we send them home. I wish we had a better gift right now, but we do give them a packet of upcoming events, what our program's about, and what we're doing. Just a small packet for them to go home with.
We actually, this was almost a selfish question for me because I'm looking for ideas. I'm trying to see what people are doing because we don't have a good system of what we give out and stuff like that. So, we have small groups and they do a little bit of just, that's where they feel welcome and stuff, is going to small groups and doing that. But we don't have anything right now other than sending the cards after people come. But we have to have an address. We have to have something like that when we do that. Anybody else have something they do?
I don't know if y'all can hear me, but one thing we do, just kind of, Russell, kind of like what you were talking about, is we, mainly that's our time to kind of get to meet the kids in their small groups. I have my small group leader follow up with them. We don't give out anything like that, but a lot of our small group leaders will have their numbers, or one of their friends will have their numbers, and we just have them follow up with them. That's kind of our best way that we've found for us. But yeah, I'm still looking for some ideas too.
Taylor, just so you know, we can hear you but not see you. So, but we are able to hear you.
Okay.
All right. So, anything else about visitors? What are some cool things y'all have seen, or some things that y'all do that we haven't talked about to help new people feel welcome and to follow up with people?
I'd say I'm in the same boat mostly as you for not having a really great system and plan for giving something out or making them feel welcome, other than just the sense of community that our church has. But I do have this like youth involvement form. I can't find the Word document or whatever on my computer, but it's just kind of like a list of like name, birthday, extracurriculars, things that like times when those occur. I don't know if you guys can see, that's kind of small stuff. Things they'd be interested, lockouts, lock-ins, concerts, sports, tournaments, after church lunch, raffles, contests, stuff like that. And just some personal information about them. It's like special skills or interests, things that they like to do. It's like, you don't necessarily know that all kids like to draw, but Ben here, apparently he loves to draw. His favorite breakfast food, evening, or, TV shows, favorite ice cream, just something to get a little bit about them on. That way they can, at least from a leader perspective.
Good. Laurel, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Hey, we were sharing some ideas that we have for when new visitors come to our youth group. What are some ways that we welcome them, things we give them, or things to take home? Do you have any ideas to share, or things you've heard of, or things that y'all do?
Yeah, we don't have a good plan in place at the moment. I'm actually working on hopefully developing a team of students and using it as a leadership opportunity in the spring. Each one of them would have a specific role, no real details funneled out yet, but ideally we would have someone kind of in charge of that group, and then it would be like they identify we have a visitor, and then so you have your welcome person that goes and makes sure that they speak to them, and then you have maybe a guy that follows up with a card, and then you have another person's responsibility to make sure they get invited to sit with them and worship. Just kind of some of the different elements of a new visitor to our congregation. Well, how do we do that within our small groups too? We're kind of just in a growth stage with our group that I feel confident we could probably launch this in the spring. That's been a long road for us, about a year-long road. So I don't have a whole lot of details on that, but that's kind of my hope is that God will move us into that place that we will be able to do that in the spring. Basically give each student in that leadership group a responsibility of, it's your job to write the card, it's your job to invite them to worship, it's your job to this, that, the other. And then another essential part of that will be prayer, where they would come maybe before Sunday school and they would pray for any visitors before we even have them. Same with we've moved to Wednesday nights, so they would meet maybe 10 minutes before our Wednesday night service, and they would be in prayer for, any visitors that we may have. Just again, being more intentional, making them more aware, then we have a piece where we have quite a few students who have never been engaged, that I'm hoping to apply this to them as well. So they're not visitors per se. They may even be members of the church, but they might feel like a visitor coming into our group if they did decide to come. And so how do we make them feel welcome? So I don't have any like concrete, but that's kind of where I'm hoping to go.
Well, I'm hoping now maybe we can do this in a year and we'll all have new ideas and stuff. So share those ideas. Or if anybody comes up with anything that works really, really well, make sure and send that out. We have about 8 minutes left. There's about 8 of us. So the other part of this is I wanted us to share maybe a highlight or even something that didn't work well. Summer, just kind of we haven't had a chance to recap from summer. So what was something that really worked really well that you want to share with everybody that would be applicable that we could either write in our list for next summer to do, or something that we'd write in our list for next summer not to do. And then when you finish that, so think about that, and when you finish that, one topic that you would want us to go over in these Hangouts in the future. We'll start back over. Taylor, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, so Taylor, we're going to go with, you good to start?
I can figure it out as I go.
Make it up as you go. That's good. So something from the summer, and then a topic that you wanted us to talk about.
Yeah. So our summer was a little crazy. We were supposed to go to Baton Rouge on mission trip the week after the shootings, and so that did not happen. We were scheduled to go until like 4 hours before we were supposed to leave, and then that morning, like way early that morning, I got a phone call that said, "Hey, trip's canceled. We can't house the group. The riots got out of hand." So for us, it was kind of an interesting summer in a lot of respects. That just kind of summed it up. But one thing we did that just really worked out well, and it was kind of out of necessity, is our mission trip was at home this summer. We had a girl 2 towns over that needed a wheelchair ramp built. And so we basically, instead of going and serving in Baton Rouge, we ended up doing a mission project at home. And it was, it wasn't just like a small mission project, not that that's a problem, but we did something big. We spent 4 days out at their house building a wheelchair ramp. And that was really cool. The kids really connected because it was really interesting. A lot of them actually knew this family without knowing them or had something in common with them, through, oh, we played this sport against you or whatnot. And it was just really neat. The kids got really excited about that. So I'm actually looking at doing that with some of my junior high kids because the group we're going with this summer, they have age restrictions on mission trips. But yeah, I'm looking at doing that again with my younger kids. Not that my high school kids wouldn't be invited, but get them involved in a mission trip that way. And plus, you don't have the whole homesick thing of being away from mom for the first time with that.
Yeah. All right, and do you have a topic did you want us to look at?
No, because you didn't give me any time.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
You can pull back in the end. All right, Randall, what was something from the summer that you enjoyed that went well that we can share?
I was actually in transition this summer with a job, and so I didn't really work too much this summer. From the past, though, I do have a good leadership group of students right now, and in the past, a leadership retreat with those students has worked really well. It's been like a must for the summer, and this year it's been harder to run that group without that retreat, but I really didn't do too much this summer.
Awesome. I like the leadership retreat idea. Laurel?
We had a lot of different activities going on, but the one that was the most different for us and that really worked for our church and kind of the direction we're trying to go as more inclusive of all ministry areas and cross generations, and was we partnered with our children's ministry, and we did a kickoff the very first part of the summer. We did a water day, and it was really geared for the children's ministry, and it was kind of an outreach to our community, but the youth came and worked it, and so they rented a big giant water slide, and we, made sure there was just a few kids on at a time, and they worked the different stations. They had like a water bead station. They had some kind of goop. You put it in water and it turns into, I don't know, it was gross and fun, and the kids had a blast. But we in partnering with the children's ministry, I said, if we will work this event, if you'll let us have a few hours after the event, and we basically just took over the giant water slide after the kids were all gone, the little ones were all gone, and we had like our own kind of water day, and it was just a good time of fellowship and fun, but it had that service element to it as well, because we were helping with the children's ministry. It was an outreach to the community. I think that's just in general, maybe not just for summer for us, that I'm finding is attracting more of our students, is that it has multiple elements. It's not just fun, or it's not just worship element, or it's not just a mission element, but that it has multiple components to it, especially that service and mission component mixed with the fun and the fellowship. We saw a lot of response from our pumpkin patch, the same way I set a specific night where we were going to have, pumpkin patch, we were going to work it. All of our pumpkin patch money goes to missions, global missions. So I have no problem giving service hours for that. So there was a service component, but we had fun because we were moving hay bales, and we were, stacking pallets. And anyway, so I'm finding that a multiple component approach really brings out success for us. And the water day was a blast. Got Pastor Lindsay on the water slide, and that was that was fun as well too. So
Cool. Eric, anything from summer?
So actually, I was in a transition as well. So we had a couple different things in different places. But one of the things in the new church that I showed up at was that, so the church decided to have a hymn sing, which really was supposed to be a church-wide thing, but they hadn't really reached out to the students and invited them. And so it was like the first week after I arrived, and I spent my whole week just recruiting students to come to be a part of that. And at the end of it, so it was a hymn sing, and at the end of it was a time of fellowship together where the choir made root beer floats for everybody that came. And a bunch of our students beforehand were, they were just like, oh my gosh, I don't really want to come to this, but I'm going to come. And at the end of it, they were just like, that was one of the things that they're like, okay, next year we're going to request a bunch of hymns that we want to sing. And I was like, that's exactly how this works. That was awesome. But we had a whole bunch of students that showed up for that. And I think the best part was just the community with the church afterward, having root beer floats together on a hot Sunday afternoon in the summer. So that was really good. And then another thing that I think probably many of you do is color games or color wars. We did those in a couple different ways, but this year several churches got together in my neighborhood, and we did it at the local middle school. And so we just combined all the different kids from different church groups. And so there wasn't one group, and we ended with a message and worship together. And so it was really kind of a way to bring our churches together. So that was pretty good.
Awesome. Jordan.
I'm going to say, in terms of new and different things, at least for this group, I started an event called Whataburger Wednesday. We do it. We usually do it, even though we have a Wednesday night Bible study, because not everybody can be at everything. There's a lot of high school kids who can drive, who might be at work later in the evening. So they come out, eat lunch, and I had the graduating seniors lead Bible study just on those things. It's just a brief devotional for anybody who come out there, eat at Whataburger. It was really good, I think, in terms of just raising some awareness for the rest of the community, because it's every single Whataburger employee, they're like, wow, man, your group's really cohesive. They're really good. It's cool y'all are doing Bible study. Y'all are going out there. I don't know. I think it was a really good response, one, because Whataburger is delicious, and two, gave the students an opportunity to lead. And, there's something different about, your leader leading a devotion versus one of your peers. And I think it was a really good influence for some of my younger kids who went out there too.
And now there's the app, so you can get one
Yes.
every 5 trips. You get something free, so you can work that in too. So yeah, Brent, are you? I see you muted. Do you want to share anything from summer?
Ironically, mine is like a Debbie Downer. Our biggest thing is we did too much. We were absolutely bogged down this summer with so much stuff. We had some great memorable things that happened, but in the planning process, somehow or another, I got my ears tweaked a little bit too much to the idea of doing a couple more trips and a couple things that didn't really have much meaning. And so we did it, and I survived the summer, but I left this summer by far the most exhausted I've ever been after a summer in youth ministry. And so it was extremely exhausting for me. But at the same time, it was really hard for my volunteers too, because there were a few that volunteered for more events that they wanted to, because the rest of the volunteers didn't step up because there were too many things going on. And so next year we are really going to take the opposite approach, and we're going, after talking to leaders, we're dialing it back, and we're saying, all right, what were the big key things that if we took out next year, the students would actually be upset? And we picked like 4 events or 5 events all summer long next year that will be actually away from our church. And then other than that, we're going to do a lot more intentional focus within our community and within the town of Fairfield. So that's our goal, at least. But yeah, too much stuff was way too hectic. Other thing I'd like to see, I would like to see 2 things discussed. One, it's something I'm dealing with currently in my group, disciplinary issues, how to address them, how to engage students that are being problems effectively, but not in a way that is going to make them leave. But then secondly, discipleship strategies within our group contexts. How do you disciple your kids? Do you have something in plan? Do you have a plan set in motion? How do you do it? So I'd love that to be a conversation piece as well.
Cool. Any other thoughts? Any other topics?
Russell plays a mean Darth Vader.
Yeah, our costume this year for our family to do was Star Wars, and my son was Luke Skywalker, and I was Darth Vader. I got the list. I was talking a little bit earlier. Originally, we were going to do a retreat called Ignite, and it was a 1 night, 2-day retreat, like a TED Talk type thing, and it didn't come together as far as numbers. And so I talked with Eddie, and we're going to try to do those same conversations here, like once or twice a month throughout the time. And the ones that we're talking about are youth work and life balance, prayer and worship, small groups, student leadership, creating and sustaining youth bands, and games and time fillers. And so all those are coming up. Eric, would you be available on December 8th to do those student leadership?
Let me look. Let me pull my calendar up real quick. I think so.
Hey, Russell. I remember seeing the Ignite conference thing, and I'll be honest, I was really interested in it. But I'll tell you this, and I don't know how it is for y'all. Being in a small town, a big part of my ministry is interacting on Friday nights, interacting on Saturdays at games. Like, I run the chains for the football team on Thursday, Friday nights. I can't leave during that time. So I would totally be interested in it, in stuff like that. It does not work for us, or for me at least, on that time frame, just because, I view that as kind of essential time to be with the kids. That's how I meet new kids. That's how we reach out to kids who are kind of on the fringe in our community. So that's why we didn't jump all over that. It's just because of it's just not great timing for us.
Spring might be better. or something like that. So Eric, did you check on your?
Yeah, I'm good. So December 8th, I can do that.
Yeah, we'll probably go a little longer than the 30 minutes, but probably not too much because we were told to have like a 15-minute talk. So it'll be 15 minutes of kind of a little question and answer with you, and then 15 minutes of good discussion after that. So that'll be our topic for December 8th. We will not meet next week. It's Thanksgiving, or we will not meet in 2 weeks, which is Thanksgiving. I may get excited and just throw another one up since it is Thanksgiving next week. Would y'all be interested in doing it next week just because of the time frame of Thanksgiving?
Yep.
All right, I'll throw one up for next week. But December 8th, though, we can plan ahead and we can advertise it through Eddie and stuff. December 8th, we'll do Eric. And Eric, you were talking about student leadership.
That's correct.
Okay, so awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. We will see y'all next week. We will actually have a talk. And I would actually like to get into, well, I'll figure that out. I'm going to try this closing again. Thank you all for coming. We'll see y'all next week on the Youth Leader Hangouts.
Sounds great. Thanks.